These pierogies on there.
No, they were horrible. That's why I left them in there. They were terrible. I'm not buying those kind again. I got them at Gary's. They were bad.
What about these pierogies that were cooked?
Yeah, those no good either.
No
They
good?
didn't cook them all the way.
You're dumping murders on us that we can't solve. You're fucking the squad's clearance rate. Fuck the fucking numbers already. Fucking numbers destroyed this fucking department. Man's mind is clearance rate could suck a hairy asshole. Marlo ain't worth it, man. Nobody here. Marlo's an asshole. He does not get to win. We get to win. This case doesn't go away just because the boss is giving us the money to pay for it. These are fucking murders. Ghetto murders, but still. I came back out of the West to work this case because they said it would be worked. I came back out on a promise and they're going to keep that promise. They know it or not. What a tell man's man. Yeah, you keep on with it. I'm going to rat you out. I ain't doing what you got to do. My name is nowhere in the file. I don't want fuck to do with this.
Did you finish the lunch meat?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I went to buy this morning. I forgot. I was so hungry last night. I ate the ham and then you got the shitty cheese. Why'd you buy that package of cheese? There were no slices in it.
I know. I took notice. I don't know why I did.
I mean, I saw you look at like 4 different packages and you picked that one. Yeah, that didn't.
There's sliced cheese on the bottom.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay. I've got to go down the giant. New bag in here. And I'm going to take a pill and I'm going to sit down for a couple of minutes and roll my Whitney pussy pass.
It's my first time out front, so I want to see it.
It's thinking so good.
Why pay for it when I get it for free at the office? Back.
Excuse me.
uh-oh, what'd you do? No, what happened? How did you? Just, I'll leave it here and go out. I told you I'd take it when I get up. Here, grab your cup. I don't know how you constantly run into things.
get here? Around now, usually.
Anybody got a working car?
I got one, but I'm going back out to my crime scene for a canvas.
Drop me at the ME. Jimmy. My office. Now. Getting lift over from one of the central cars.
I'll get it. I'm gonna make those pizza things, and I'll look at it while I'm doing that.
This is way past any shit you ever pulled in your life, Jimmy. Think on it. You see Greg's out there? Bagging evidence alone. Then going back out to recanvas on a triple. A triple fucking murder. A home invasion. And she's working it alone. They pulled Crutchfield this morning. Put it back in the rotation. That's on them, but you can't fucking write that's on them. A triple murder? And 12 hours later they leave one detective alone on it? I guess she's lucky she has a car. This shit won't work. Well, then we're no worse than before. Extra red name or two on the board. Yeah, unless you got caught. When this fucking end is gonna catch me? Most of the guys up here come catch the clap in a Mexican whorehouse. What's with the red ribbon? Barlow had a open strangle a few years back. Homeless guy with a red ribbon tied around his wrist. So that's two. Also, I found an open homeless case which Ray Cole worked. I wrote a ribbon into his office reports. So there's three. Our guy didn't have a red ribbon. That's where I'm headed. Jesus. Listen to yourself. Upstairs wouldn't jump on a real serial killer. Fucking Marlowe. He's got bodies all over him. Well, maybe they need the make-believe. Yeah, maybe you're the asshole who just lost his fucking mind. Yeah, I'm locked in a box. It's no joke. Let me out. Fuck it. He tried. Mostly he just fucks himself. You ain't seen no shit, huh? I'll bet you did. Fucking Burrell's asshole must be so tight you couldn't pull a pin from it with a John Deere
Well,
tractor.
it's starting to stick, and
You're
the
promising a double
snow emergency just started now. Imagine that. Is this an emergency?
a 4% bump.
I don't think so.
2 quarters in a row. Thanks for bringing these by, Stan.
The weatherman says we're going to get anywhere from a dusting to 8 inches, so I'm glad that he could narrow that down for
I'm thinking
us.
you could do a lot worse than give me a run as Union Commissioner. I know you're going to be permanent, maybe 6 months, while you keep grooming your boy Daniels. I get a pension bump, and you get a head start on clearing out dead wood, beginning with Burrell and Rawls.
Thanks, Stan. Let me think on it.
Even on an acting basis, can you imagine Maurice and the ministers dealing with Commissioner Belichick? Page one editor made noise like he was gonna go out front and he tosses it back to the Metro before the double dot. Night editor didn't have room to take back, so Stewart deserved better. Sorry.
3 people murdered in a house, and it gets 12 inches below the fold.
Families of these hostages watching them as they join IDF soldiers overcome with emotion and relief. Huge crowds also gathered in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square today, celebrating and cheering as the news of this hostage release came in. A total of 33 hostages are expected to be released during this first phase of the ceasefire, which lasts for 6 weeks, in exchange for the release of a number of Palestinian prisoners. NBC News has also just learned that the first American to be released will be 65-year-old Keith Siegel on day 14 of the ceasefire. And that will be 36-year-old, and after that will be 36-year-old Saki Dekelhen, who is injured as well. And the other 5 Americans, alive and dead, will not be released until phase 2 of the ceasefire. That is from NBC reporting. I'm going to talk about it with my next guest. And along with the release of the hostages, we saw another welcome sign today. Aid trucks have started to cross into Gaza, bringing much-needed relief to a region that has been suffering. 600 trucks of aid will be able to enter Gaza each day, a significant increase from what has been allowed to date. Now, this ceasefire deal took months of painstaking diplomacy between the United States, Egypt, and Qatar. And just in the last hour, President Biden delivered remarks on the release of those 3 hostages.
What's that thing in the window for?
It's a camera.
Oh, right outside.
Yeah, watching the snow. Better picture out front, more stuff to watch. People going buying shit. Oh, look at that. And this dickwad is taking the credit for trying to take the credit for it.
I was pleased to have our team speak as one voice in the final days. It was both necessary and effective and unprecedented. But success is going to require persistence and continuing support for our friends in the region and the belief in diplomacy backed by deterrence.
Starting us off today is White House Deputy National Security Advisor John Piner, who is on his second to last day in the job. I'm grateful to you for taking the time. We've known each other a long time. We've spent a lot of time traveling overseas in diplomatic talks. It doesn't always result in a positive outcome. And I just wanted to ask you, I mean, anybody who's read the reporting knows this took dozens of trips by Brett McGurk, by Tony Blinken, by Bill Burns, involvement by you, by Jake Sullivan, of course, by the president. What is it like watching the video of these hostages being returned, of the families celebrating?
Well, it's a really good point, Jen, because you well know you don't get a lot of good days in foreign policy. Often it's managing really hard problems and choosing among least bad options. So when there is an unequivocally happy moment, like seeing those 3 hostages come out of Gaza this morning, it is nice to take a minute to reflect. Now, the reality is, though, implementing this deal is going to be a challenge. And because of that, and because the 6-week period for implementation extends into the new administration, President Biden has directed us to be totally transparent, totally open, and integrated with the incoming Trump team. They were involved in the talks. They played an important supporting role, and it'll now be on them to make sure this deal gets implemented as the president just described.
And I want to ask you about that as well. But one of the questions I wanted to start with here is just about the status of the Americans. And NBC News, I mentioned this in the opening here, reported this morning that the first American to be released will be 65-year-old Keith Siegel on day 14 of the ceasefire, because it's every 7 days. So that would be one between now and then. After that would be 36-year-old Saki Dekelhen, who is also injured, then the other 5 Americans in the second phase. Is that accurate?
So the way this deal is structured is that the people who come out in phase 1 of the deal are people who are wounded, are women, and are what is defined as elderly under the terms of this deal, basically people over the age of 50. just when close to home if they're close to 50. But that's how the deal defines elderly. And so the theory there is the most vulnerable people are the ones who should come out first. We see 2 Americans in that category, the 2 that you just mentioned. After that, phase 2, there'll be a negotiation for how to start phase 2. It'll be IDF soldiers come out in that second phase. And then in the third phase, remains of hostages who tragically did not survive would come out. Phase 2 is when the war ends definitively with a permanent ceasefire.
But for people who are waiting for an American to come back, obviously amazing footage, amazing news about these 3 Israeli women today, and one of them is a British citizen. Keith Siegel, we should anticipate not until 2 weeks from today.
So I'm not going to confirm exactly which date, which people are going to come out. I think there's going to be some work between now and then to determine who comes out on what date. But that rough timeline is, I think, what we should expect.
You mentioned this earlier, and Jake Sullivan and the president, you have all been very effusive in thanking the incoming Trump administration, Steve Woodcock specifically, for their work and efforts in this process. It's important to restate, I think, that this is the same plan as was proposed in May, that there have been, again, as I noted earlier, dozens of trips by Biden high-level national security officials to get here. Trump and Netanyahu obviously have a close relationship, a closer one than Biden. Why do you think now?
Well, as you say, I think the president laid out the broad contours, the elements of this deal back in May. There was some fine print to be worked out, but if you look at the deal that actually now appears on paper, it is more or less exactly what the president described back then. But there was a lot of work that had to take place between now and then. There were tragic incidents that took place between now and then, including the murder of several hostages by Hamas, including one American, which we all mourned and were outraged by. All of that made this take longer, I think, than many of us wanted. And at the end of the day, the president identified, even when tension moved on from the press, from other governments, the president almost every single day would call Jake Sullivan or me or others on the team to say, what is going on with the hostage negotiations? How can I help? Is there someone I should call? Should we be sending someone out to the region? He stayed on top of this. And as you say, we deployed constantly. And when it got close to the end of the administration and became clear that implementation would go into a new term, he asked us, bring them in, tell them what's going on, make sure they're comfortable with the approach, and see if they're going to be willing to help. Now, you know as well as I do, we don't agree with 100% of what the new administration is likely to do on a whole range of things. I'll let them speak to their policy. But on this issue, there was an alignment of interests and an alignment of messaging publicly to the Israelis and behind the scenes.
There's no question. I mean, you give them credit for getting Netanyahu to kind of come to the table at this moment in time. The negotiation for a second phase, though, is going to require maybe the Israelis giving some things up that they don't want to give up. Trump has basically said that Netanyahu should have unfettered freedom to move forward with military action. Is that the biggest concern about moving forward to a second phase, or is there something else?
So that negotiation begins a couple of weeks into the deal. So, stay tuned for exactly how that will proceed. And it is what determines whether we go from phase 1 to phase 2, the permanent ceasefire that ends the war. Everything we're told by our incoming Trump administration counterparts is that they have every intention of bringing this deal all the way through phase 2 and phase 3. They're the ones that are going to have to help foster that negotiation. We wish them every luck in doing so, and think that would be a very good thing. And if there are ways we can be helpful, I'm sure we will.
Let me ask you about TikTok. I know you're very present on TikTok. You're not. I'm joking. But Donald Trump announced this morning in a post that he was going to sign an executive order to delay the implementation. Anyone who went on TikTok this morning couldn't go on TikTok. Mike Johnson said this morning that he thinks it will be an effort to move forward to a sale to an American company. Is that the only way that this could meet the national security standards Trump identified in his statement, or how could those standards be met?
So, Jen, it's not just national security standards. There's a piece of legislation, as you know, that lays out exactly what is required now under the law. And I'm not going to parse the details or interpret it, other than to say, and I think this is important, the last couple of days, this administration, the Biden administration, who's still in office until tomorrow, has been quite clear. You're not going to take any actions that require the drastic step that TikTok decided to take by pulling its platform down. We said that quite publicly. They made a different choice. I think there are clearly conversations going on between TikTok and the new administration, so we'll let those play out. But nothing we said or we did would have required them to take the action that they took.
Clearly discussion since they thanked Trump in the holding place if you open TikTok this morning. John Feiner, thank you for your work. Thank you for everything you've done to serve the country. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Jen.
Coming up, Donald Trump will take the oath of office in just under 24 hours, and I've got some thoughts about what's coming our way, what to watch for, plus my wide-ranging interview with California Governor Gavin Newsom. We talk about his plans to deal with the new administration as his state tries to recover from those devastating wildfires. We're just getting started today. We have lots to come. We'll be right back.
My moderate to severe plaque psoriasis held me back, but now with Skyrizi, I'm all in. Thanks to Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin, and many even achieve 100% clear skin. Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi today. Nature knows best. That's why New Chapter Vitamins follows her example. Key vitamins, minerals, herbs, and whole food ingredients. Crafted to work with your body. Bringing the power of nature into your new chapter.
Who's coming in the driveway?
Goodness. My daughter is being treated for leukemia. I hope that she lives a long, great, happy life, and that she will never forget how mom and daddy love her. St. Jude, this is what's keeping my baby girl alive. You can join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. For just $19 a month, you'll help us continue the life-saving research and treatment these kids need now and in the future.
Cancer makes me feel angry, like it's not in the feel on the outside, just the inside. I'm angry at it.
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it, I want you to come back. That's the worst feeling in the world. 1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive. Those that donate to St. Jude, I hope that you continue to give. They have done so much for me and my family. Join with your credit or debit card for only $19 a month, and we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt. Or for a limited time only, join for $39 a month to receive this exclusive St. Jude jacket you can proudly wear to show your support.
When we came here, we didn't know what tomorrow would hold. St. Jude showed us that tomorrow there's hope for our little girl to survive.
Let's cure childhood cancer together. Please donate now.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
Good morning with Vocalac. Good morning. Yeah. Try Vocalac chewing fruit bites for fast and gentle constipation relief in as little as 30 minutes. Making your good morning even better with Vocalac.
During an asthma attack, every second feels like an eternity. Primatene Mist works fast. It's clinically shown to open airways quickly. Get the #1 FDA-approved over-the-counter asthma inhaler. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again.
Good morning with Vocalac. Good morning. Yeah. Try Vocalac chewing fruit bites for fast and gentle constipation relief in as little as 30 minutes. Making your good morning even better with Vocalac.
Attention timeshare owners, we're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently. Call the number on your screen today.
Okay, so at this time tomorrow, Donald Trump will have just been sworn in as President of the United States. Again. Now, it's going to look a lot different than the first time around, in large part because it will take place inside. The Trump team has pointed to the frigid forecast as the reason for moving it indoors, and while yes, it is indeed going to be frigid here in Washington tomorrow, Cold weather didn't exactly stop Jimmy Carter when temperatures dipped below 30 degrees, or Barack Obama when wind chills were in the teens, and nearly 2 million people still gathered. It was cold, very cold, I can promise you. Heck, I mean, JFK didn't even wear an overcoat when the high was 26 degrees and there were 8 inches of snow on the ground. So sure, they say it's the weather. I have a hunch crowd size anxiety might just be a factor. Who knows? Now, well, yes, all of that and the question of having it inside or outside is fun to speculate about and talk about. It's actually the speech itself that deserves the most of our attention, because that's what sets the tone and the priorities for the next 4 years. So with that in mind, I took a little bit of a look back at Trump's inauguration speech in 2017. And here is one small part of that speech I haven't been able to get out of my head.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. To all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again.
Okay, so he pledged an oath of allegiance to all Americans. He promised you would never be ignored again. I mean, that sounds good. That sounds great. It's not exactly how things played out, was it? I mean, I know we've all collectively memory hold a lot of this, but do you remember how he handled the worst crisis of his first term? During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, rather than bring the country together, he repeatedly questioned sending aid to blue states simply because they were governed by Democrats.
For 4 years, didn't she complain about the Republicans complaining about Democrats?
You know what? I'm trying to listen. He even dismissed
You're listening to bullshit.
who died in states that didn't vote
He's
his way.
politicizing disaster aid. You know what he's politicizing? There was no fucking water in Los Angeles. That's not politicizing. And then see how they cut it? They don't finish what he says. You're not even hearing the whole story. Why do you watch it?
Governing for all Americans in every city, near and far.
This is what makes you not smart.
You know what, Justin? I don't bother you when you're doing something.
Yes, you do all the time.
Let me alone.
Of devastating hurricanes in Puerto Rico in late 2017, Trump reportedly told his staff he did not want a single.
I don't understand how you don't like black people or gay people.
Instead,
You
he
can watch
wanted
this
more of
channel.
the money to go to Texas and Florida. He even signed an order directing FEMA to pay 100% of most disaster costs in Florida, a very red state, just 2 months after threatening to veto a similar proposal for Puerto Rico. Trump withheld wildfire assistance for Washington in 2020 after feuding with the state's Democratic governor. And in 2018, he initially refused to provide disaster aid for wildfires in California until he was told how many of his.
Tell they need to come down and fix your computer because I'm trying to watch this.
Thinking didn't just apply to disaster response. I mean, Trump's 2017 tax policy not only cut taxes for people who needed it the least, but also disproportionately punished blue states. And his immigration policies also targeted blue sanctuary cities. So that's what we saw last time. Regardless of what he said in his inaugural address, we saw a president for some Americans, not all Americans. We saw an embrace of red states at the expense of the blue. And some of the early indicators suggest that may be what we see again this time. I mean, just this weekend, we learned a deportation operation could start in Chicago as early as Tuesday, and that Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Denver could also be targets. And as California continues to battle one of the worst wildfires in its history, Trump and his allies are focused on blaming Governor Gavin Newsom, spreading misinformation, and conditioning much-needed aid. Just listen to how Trump laid out his plan to use California as a bargaining chip earlier this
What was
week.
I doing when you asked me to fix your computer?
If you add Los Angeles into it, then you can really do one big beautiful
Don't fix
thing.
it.
What was I what was I doing?
You know what, Justin?
No, just answer the question. What was I doing when you asked me to fix your computer?
You were doing something out in the kitchen.
What was I doing? What was I doing?
Watching that.
I was watching my TV show. And what did you just tell me? Don't talk to me while I'm watching my
All I
TV
said
show.
was, you have time to-
You said don't talk to me while I'm watching my TV show. And what was I doing?
Get the fuck out of here, would you?
So you can do it to me, but I can't do it to you.
No, you keep constantly at it.
So do you. I was watching my TV show all day and you talked to me all day. I said one thing and you got mad. Now, see, this is why I say I don't do anything, because you don't appreciate anything I do and you treat me like shit all day long.
Which is the word of God. Now, swords back then came in all kinds of shapes and forms. And
No. All right, put it back on. I'll go out here so you can put it back on.
Senator Christopher Murphy put
I'll tell you one thing. Don't you ever fucking ask me a question again while my TV's on, because I'm going to scream in your face like you screamed in mine. You better fucking remember that.
So yes, all the evidence in the first term, all the early indicators.
Yeah, scream in my ear so I can't hear.
You just screamed in my face, didn't you?
I didn't scream in your
Yes,
ear.
you did. Yes, the fuck you did. Hey, the camera's right goddamn there.
I don't care. Take the fucking camera.
Then why are you fucking lying? If you don't care, why are you lying?
I don't want it in here. I don't need this garbage. Take it.
Oh, I'll put it out there, and then it'll still hear you yelling at me. Now, if you don't want people hearing you yell at me, don't fucking yell at me. It's not that hard to understand.